Welcome. My name is Mish, and this is a year of Trek. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the latest Lower Decks episode, Gumato. Magato Gumato, which is kind of a I don't know. I was thinking that was kind of a play on the whole tomato thing. So just to warn you that we, from here on out, there are going to be spoilers. If you have not watched the episode, go do that now and then come back and watch this later. There, you have been warned. Now, I also need to give a huge shout out to Rob Roy. He is my new best virtual friend. I guess this is, I don't know. We chat all the time. We are martial artists. We are, we're super Star Trek people. And so he put together the opening countdown, and he has been mainly working on the spoiler alert, but we can't get, because he lives on the East Coast and I live on the West Coast, and of course the service, we're trying to get a small enough graphic that will actually move. So instead of just this static one, we'll have, anyway, we're working together. He's done a great job so far. So thank you, Rob. Huge shout out for that. So, Rob Ray. Oh, did I say Roy? I bet I did. I think I did. I'm sorry. Bad friend. Okay. So Rob Ray is his name, everybody. There you go. Right there. You can look at the screen. Okay. So, today's episode. Yeah, I kind of like last week's episode a little bit more. I was not, this episode did not blow my skirt up at all. There were some things that, you know, there weren't a lot of Easter eggs that I saw. And I do get blamed for having, sometimes a middle school sense of humor. I also have a very, very dark sense of humor, totally not PC or woke at all. But sometimes I do get accused of having a middle school sense of humor. Lot of middle school humor in here, I think. Didn't find it really funny. I don't know. Sometimes it was kind of gross. So anyway, the whole mission. Now it starts out, I wrote down the star date. So it is currently star date 58036.4, which I need to start doing. I got out my formula, for the star date, and, but I need to figure it out backwards. I didn't have a lot of time today. I was doing lots and lots of stuff today, including working on this episode, but I think we're still pretty much in January of this year, according to my stardate clock. So Rob, this episode had the most potential and was the biggest letdown, unfortunately, from trying to pull from the Orville and Rick and Morty in the Trek universe. Yeah, possibly. Rob had mentioned earlier in a text to me that Rutherford was kind of wimped out. They, if I get that right, Rob, I think they did. They didn't really do him a lot of justice. He kind of wussed out in this episode. But you've got your main plot going on. The Tritos, or I can never remember the damn name of the ship. I need to write it down because I want to say Chorito, but it's not Chorito. Dumbed down is what he meant. Yeah. So anyway, so you have the ship, and the Cerritos. There we go. The Cerritos. I got it. See, it took me just a little bit. So you have the Cerritos going on a mission, as the captain kind of puts it, on and I didn't even write it down, but anyway, she's there's a Mugato that has kind of scared some, it's on the loose, and so they're going to this one planet to take care of it. That's kind of the main overall scope of the episode. Then you have Boimler and Rutherford. Basically, they find out, they hear a rumor from the bartender that Mariner is some trained black ops gal, and they're starting to read way too much into their relationship and all that kind of stuff. Then you've got and so that's kind of the subplot of the main plot, because they are on the mission for the Mugato. But then you have this other subplot where Tendi is given basically directions by the doctor to track down people who have kind of not gotten their physical, their annual physical. So you have these three main things going on. So I thought it was kind of funny. So I didn't find it funny, but so I didn't have time to look it up, and I don't know it off the top of my head. Bad Trekkie, not knowing the name of Phlox's species, but it's basically the same species of Dr. Phlox from Enterprise. There it opens up. They're on the planet, and a Mugato jumps out at them. Now this is on, I guess, Frillon 4. I could be pronouncing that wrong. That they go. So, but the Mugato is actually that ape-like creature that has the horn from the original series episode, A Private Little War. So, now when, so I was getting to that, Rob, the, fun moment when they said Starfleet wouldn't do that except, and then listed all the times they had done undercover operations. Yeah. So when in kind of like that opening, they're in their bar, I guess their version of 10 Forward. And, what is his name? Otis says, "Oh, here you go." And they totally reject him. They're like, no, she would never do that. And he's like, "Oh, but that's the perfect cover." And then, yeah, they totally were like, well, they would never do that, except, Tuvok did it here, and they did it during the Dominion War, and they did it here, but they would never do it on the Cerritos. God damn, I can never get that right. Anyway, so I thought that was pretty funny that they do it all these other times, except they would never do it on our ship. So anyway, so you've got, they get to the planet, they start going down, on this primary timeline, Denobulin. Thank you. Denobulin. Thank you. Anyway, so they've, they beam down. Now it's funny because, Shack says no phasers, because the Mugatos are they're they're endangered. See, I even have it written down. They're an endangered species, and their genitals are sensitive to phaser fire. Good to know. I think everybody's genitals would be sensitive to phaser fire. Now, so at some point before they beam down, Rutherford and Boimler are, specifically Boimler, he's doing a little bit of research on the Mugato, and he says that it's pronounced a bunch of different ways. You've got the standard Mugato, you've got Gumato, you've got Mugutos, something like that. And so, and he's just like, oh, isn't that really interesting? Well, of course they play on that. And I don't know if is that a, like a joke that I'm not getting somewhere, a reference in science fiction. I don't know. Rob, do you know? Cause I didn't get the joke. Cause I did find it funny though, that Shaxs, every single time he brought it up, he pronounced it differently. And so, of course, they beam down on the planet, and and Shaxs goes over and he sticks his finger in Mugato dung and then tastes it and goes, fresh and tangy. We're going this way, and then keeps on doing it. Now, I did find that a little bit humorous, not really, really funny, but I don't know. I chuckle, but it's still really gross at the same time. Of course, they run into Ferengi, complete with blue whip and everything. So, and it's almost like that they were trying to play on that first episode where we meet the Ferengi, where they're supposed to be badasses. But of course, society has read too much into that, and now it's an anti-Semitic episode. But of course they do the whip, and then sparks fly, and a panel goes out, and then of course all the Mugato come out because the things are down. Now, this little scene, I got kind of like a Jurassic Park vibe. So I don't know about you. That's the first thing that kind of popped in my head, because you got the big fences, everything, everybody's in cages. Of course, the Ferengi are basically, they're keeping them for their horns and all kind of stuff. Now, of course, Rutherford and Boimler, they've constantly talked about them being suspicious of Mariner, and when they see her stab Shaxs and start sucking on his blood, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's true. She is, she's going to kill us all." Of course, if you've seen the episodes, it's that she's sucking the venom out, but that's not explained until later. Now, Rob has posted, he says, DeForest Kelly couldn't get the name right, so it was a play on his pronunciation throughout the episode. Okay, totally makes sense. I have not seen the episode in a while. In fact, when are we going to watch that episode? Let's see, Private Little War. I know I'm kind of going off script here, even though I didn't have a really script. October 1st is when we'll be watching that episode. So I guess I'll get the joke in about a month. So, let's see. So then, of course, Boimler and Rutherford, they're running away, and they run into this guy, Patingi. And I love how Patingi had this Australian accent, kind of like the ultimate wilderness guy, kind of like Steve Irwin. And he's like, "I have 5 books on Mugutos," and he's even pronouncing it a little bit different. So, and in fact, he actually pronounced Mugatos. I thought that was pretty funny. And of course, it was 5 books that he read. So technically he did say, he wasn't lying. He said he got 5 books. Of course, he has 5 books. He just was presenting it. They thought that he had read, or he had written them, not read them. And of course he gets his head bitten off, and, they go running and screaming. They end up running, and they end up hiding in this hollowed out log, where 2 Mugutos, however you pronounce it. Thank you. Now I'm not saying it right. They start banging each other, And then you have a third one watching, playing with himself. Really? I don't know. To me, I think if you were like 10 or 11 or 12, you might find that a little bit humorous. I don't know. I didn't really find the humor in that. Let's see. Of course, then they fall asleep. They run away. They run into to Mariner, and she gets stuck in like a trap, and then everything kind of comes out. She's the one that started the rumor. When they're like, well, what happened on the Atlantis? Because apparently all of the crew just disappeared. And Rutherford had early on said that he's like, why would they just transfer everybody all at once? You know, they basically, what was it? It's, Perlician. I can't even read my own handwriting. Perlicillid lice. I'm going to have to write better. Anyway, an alien form of lice took over the Atlantis, and essentially Starfleet lost the ship because of that. Apparently you can't de-lice the ship. So of course it's not on record because Starfleet didn't want that to become a thing. They didn't want to be known for that. But anyway, so, you know, and, you know, she does martial arts because she can do that herself. She doesn't want a lot of friends. She keeps jerks away. So that's kind of why she started this rumor that she is this total badass. And I did think it was funny that, that at that point, both Boimler and Rutherford throw their tricorders at her, and it hits her because earlier in the episode, they threw a tricorder and she just kind of grabs it. And she's like, what? Just like, are you serious? Why did you do that? And they're like, well, because before you grabbed it. And she's like, one time, and you believe the entire thing. So I did kind of find that funny. And then of course she's like, hey, you know, I'm trapped, but you got to get away because the Ferengi are coming. Rob, let's see what Rob has to say. A lot of wasted time, although they seem to enjoy themselves in that moment. I guess they did wear themselves out though. Yeah. True. Yes. A lot of wasted time. Let's see, going through on their adventures. Now, of course, their whole job is now to become the super black ops team to save the rest of the away team. And so it shows them kind of grabbing tools, and then all of a sudden they barge into this, into the factory, and they have, Rutherford is holding on to this, what looks like a big bamboo bazooka that ends up being a holo projector. But of course, to me, that was totally a callback to Arena when Kirk made that makeshift cannon when he was fighting the Gorn. So, and then let's see. Okay. And then of course, the holo projection was essentially them saying, you know, hey, when you're, you could make so much more money by not killing these people and turning this place into a theme park, selling merchandise and, you know, popcorn and, you know, so essentially going back to Jurassic Park. Let's see. And then, their whole thing ends, of course, you know, they're in the bar, at the end playing Mariner, and then Mariner and and Rob kind of already mentioned it. Rutherford and Boimler, the Magato twins, because of course she tells Otis, the bartender, hey, you know, check out the Otis twins. They took out, you know, they fought a dozen Magato and they saved the team, and then they ground up their tusks and snorted it. And now they have superpowers. But yes, please bring that throwaway line into a plot point before the season's over. I would like to see that play out into something worthwhile, not like let's not waste that. So that's kind of the main overall thing. We've got a couple other little things. Now the whole Tiana is given the task of this list of crew, and I had it in my head to actually write down all of the crew members, because at sometimes we actually get to see everybody on the pad, but because I wanted to see who else was on there. But of course, it's like, these are people who have not gotten their, basically not gotten their physical. Now, not reading too much into this, and it wasn't anything that was shoved down my throat, but of course, you have what's going on right now specifically in America, where you get a lot of people not wanting to get vaccinated. And so I was wondering if this was just me reading this into it, or maybe they were just saying, like, just subtly saying something, but not really shoving it down your throat. Could just be me. Anyway, so Tiana, because Tiana, am I saying, Tiana is the doctor. Thank you. Tindy is they both start with a T, and so Dr. Tiana is the cat doctor, the chief medical officer. Tindy is the, Rob just corrected me through private. So thank you for not blasting me publicly. I can do that myself. Anyway, so Tindy, you can see my notes. I just wrote T. So, so anyway, Tindy is the, she's gotten this thing to go do this because working on her, God, what is it called? Basically, she is, shoot, can't think of the name, her assertiveness. So, because even with one of her own patients, she gets pushed out of the way by that one character who had gotten promoted, and she was mentioned in the last episode. So anyway, so she's like, okay, go do this. So she's like, yes, great. I can go do this. So she's going down the list. We see that she's already kind of done some of them. She ends up, what is it? She ends up getting, we see her really get started with Lieutenant Commander Stevens. And of course he just kind of blows her off, and she follows him into the 10 forward. And then ends up scanning his glass, and it's like, oh yeah, so it looks like your bones are getting weak, because here's some milk. And of course he's trying to pick up on a girl and talking about how he lifts weights with the first officer, and of course that blows out of the water, because then he breaks his back and calls for the medical. So which I thought was kind of funny. Now in the background, don't know if people saw this, but in the background, sitting next to him further away, there was a crew member with Geordi visors, the blind visors that Geordi wore. I'm guessing it was kind of a woman, but they didn't really kind of show a front, but just the way the character was drawn, I would assume that character identifies as a woman. And then, of course, she kind of gets on her stride. She ends up getting Jet. I can't remember his last name, but anyway, she Ensign Jet. She gets him scanned. She gets this Lars character scanned. It's funny because the three characters that we see her scan, something ends up, like, something bad happens to them. So like with Jet, he's fighting that Darmok guy, and he gets punched because he gets distracted. Lars falls into almost like they're on the holodeck, and she falls into the water. And Lars a reference to Luke Skywalker's uncle? Don't know. Anyway, and then of course we have patient 08.019, and she's like, who is this? There's no name attached to this. Well, we find out that ends up being Dr. Tiana. And for those of you who don't know, 08.019 is actually Gene Roddenberry's birthday, August 19th. It was just just a couple weeks ago. So I thought that was let's use like some type of character information and throw him in there. So well done on that one. Yeah. So Jet is now a throwaway character. I don't remember him in season 1. He did play well in Kazon. Yes. His eyes open and now regulated to being the background character. Hopefully they bring him back for more stuff than just stupid little gags like this. Yes. So anyway, she finds out that it's the doctor. The doctor's like, fine, okay, takes off the thing and then acts like a cat that you're trying to chase down and give medication to. I did kind of get a kick out of that because I'm a cat guy. And in fact, the family and I have been talking about getting another cat. And we're always arguing who's going to name the cat. I'm going to name the cat. I don't care what my family says. I get to name the cats. So I think when we get our new cat, we're going to name it Tiana, as in Dr. Tiana. Anyway, just a side note. Let's see. Anyway, so it's like chasing down a cat and you've got hissing and scratching. And I kind of like that. I thought that was playful. And then of course, Tindy breaks her arm while chasing. And I wrote this down. I thought this was really funny. Where did I read that? Okay. So the doctor's like, oh, I'm not falling for that old fake an injury thing. And then you see like her arm's broken and there's blood. And then the doctor's like, oh shit. I thought that was pretty funny. So that scene was entertaining for me. I wish the whole episode was entertaining and not just a couple scenes here and there. I also like the line that the whole reason why Tiana gave Tindy the job of tracking down people is because she didn't think that she would actually do it. And she did complete it. So you have Tindy says the old Tindy would have given up, but a lot's changed since earlier today. So I thought that was kind of I thought that was kind of fun. Let's see. And so then of course her storyline ends where another patient is having an issue and she jumps in and she's like, give me 20 cc's of space. And of course she gets kicked out because it's not her patient. But you actually, unlike last episode where you had Boimler's little arc, it really wasn't a character building arc. This one was actually character building. If they continue with her assertiveness being up, that they have to continue with that. Or otherwise it was just a throwaway scene. But I liked her arc through this episode a lot better than the primary arc that was going on with Rutherford and Boimler. Now, when the away team meets the Ferengi, we have this little green guy. He's there to buy stuff. His little sub plot. He ends up escaping from the ship or from the planet. The ship grabs him because he tells him to go pound sand, and his ship gets destroyed. So he is, the captain's like, oh, I'm so sorry. We're going to make this right. We can give you a shuttlecraft. And then just, and she tells the first officer, okay, we can just say that it disappeared into a black hole. They'll know, it always happens. So, Starfleet isn't going to question us. And then he's like, oh, but all my life belongings were on the ship. And so he starts kind of going through the list. Now I wrote this note because he mentions bronze pineapple, and I have seen the pineapple, and most of you have seen the pineapple last season, this season so far, a couple of times, every time we're in the ready room. So the pineapple makes me think of Psych, the TV show Psych. Does anybody know if any of the writers from Psych or any actors or whatever are associated with Psych, because the whole gig on Psych was there was a pineapple hidden or in plain view in every single episode. So that's kind of the fun in watching Psych is point out the pineapple. So I'm curious if that is a call to Psych. And to close that arc, Starfleet lets the captain know that basically there's a scam going on. So of course the captain finds the ship, calls a scam, and then that guy, because the Ferengi are like, that was a great idea to turn this into a theme park, he gets to help out and shovel shit. So, let's see. Let's take a couple steps back. I want to see Tendi getting back into the Mistress of Winter Constellations. Personally, she almost seems to be running away from it. Well, she admitted that she really didn't. That wasn't her personality, even though that's probably a title that she has or something like within her culture, but that's not how she identifies. And she doesn't want to identify that way. Maybe that's a bad thing, but I think, yeah, I don't want her to run away from that. I think that she should hold on to a little bit of that and follow through with some of her assertiveness. And then of course, yeah, the pineapple, good call. So, let's see, going through. Yeah. And I already mentioned the Magato twins. So, yeah, I mean, it was an okay episode. It just wasn't great. You know, we started off like the first episode of the season was fantastic. And then the second episode was just as good. And then last week's episode was like, we really want to like this. It was getting so good. And then this week is like, really? So hopefully next week, and we don't have a title for next week, so we don't really know what's going to happen, but hopefully next week will be better. Hopefully. On that, next week is 3-episode day, because next Thursday is actually September 9th, day 2 of the official Year of Trek. So we are less than a week away we're 6 days away, in fact, from the beginning of a Year of Trek, September 8th. We're going to watch The Cage at some point. Find a time to watch The Cage. I will come on. I don't know exactly what time, because this is what's also going on the 8th. StarTrek.com is doing like what seems almost like a 2-hour-ish, hour and a half-ish, 2-hour-ish live stream for free. I have already rescheduled my classes. So most likely I will be streaming and watching and live streaming here at the same time. So everyone watching, and in reality, it'll probably just be Rob. But you guys can watch me get teary-eyed, because Star Trek for me is just so amazing. Like the martial arts, it is part of my life. So a lot happening on the 8th. Most likely I'm going to be live streaming while live streaming. And then after that, or maybe even before that, I don't know. Let's see. I will be doing a stream so there'll be 2 streams on Wednesday, the 8th. It'll be, the whole voyeur thing. And then of course, whatever it's called. My brain is starting to go to mush, so it's almost time to end. It would be The Cage, the chat on The Cage. Then on Thursday, we have 2. We have Thursday, using my little guide here. You don't really have to buy one of these. I'm going to tell you what to watch every single day. But do buy one. You need to own one. So the Man Trap and Charlie X, basically episode 1 and 3. And in fact, it's really the 6th. Man Trap is really the 6th episode that was filmed, but the first episode aired. But we're just going off airing dates. So that's just getting into semantics. So September 9th, we're going to do a stream, Man Trap and Charlie X, and a regular stream for Lower Deck. So 2 that day, 2 on Wednesday. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah. Oh, and just before I did this, I recorded a new welcome to for the channel. Got really excited into it. Had to record it a couple times because the first couple recordings, this mic was not recording. So you just have me. And not actually my voice. So it was. So anyway, gotta love technology. All right. So there we go. Rob, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chatting with me today. And then if you're watching this afterwards, thank you for hanging out. If you have not subscribed, liked, shared, hit the bell, because I don't have a date. I don't have a time yet, a standard time for the regular Year of Trek episodes that I'll be doing live. So hit the notification bell so you'll know when we go live. And there you go. See you on Wednesday, September 8th. Until then, be safe, live long and prosper, and we'll see you on the next video.